started. We'll just start in a subcommittee because we have a couple hearings, and then when we get a quorum, we'll just go right into that to make the committee official. We have Senator Nurrenbern. If you want to hop up here and get started on Senate Bill 1544, the platform is yours. Don't mind if I interrupt you just to get a quorum when it gets here, but proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I am Maggie Nurrenbern, representing the 17th Senatorial District in Clay County. I'm here to present Senate Bill 1544 to designate the Firefighter, Paramedic, Graham J. Hoffman Memorial Highway in Platte County. I want to thank Graham's parents, Michael and Rhonda, and his brother Nolan for being here today, as well as members of the Kansas City Fire Department for being with us. On April 27th, 2025, firefighter Graham Hoffman responded to a routine call in the Kansas City Northland. And while transporting a patient to the hospital, he was tragically killed in the line of duty. He was only 29 years old. Firefighter Hoffman had served the Kansas City Fire Department since 2022. He's known as being compassionate, caring, loving, and a leader both on and off duty, and a vibrant individual who loved serving his community. Firefighter Hoffman was a graduate of Northwest Missouri State University, and he proudly served the metro area for 6 years, the last 3 with the Kansas City Fire Department, most recently at Station 42. To honor Firefighter Hoffman's life and service to his community, Senate Bill 1544 will designate a portion of Highway 9 in Platte County, a memorial highway in his name. His family had moved to Parkville in 1992, and the family has fond memories at English Landing Park along Highway 9. Graham and his dog Al enjoyed spending many afternoons at that park. The Hoffman family said that English Landing Park will always hold a special place in their hearts, and attaching Graham's name would be the perfect lifelong gift. Thank you again for your time and your consideration for this meaningful piece of legislation. We also have Battalion Chief with us to testify in support of this legislation today.
Thank you, Senator. We are going to get our quorum really quick. Would you mind, would it be okay, and I don't want to just break off your hearing, if we went to executive session after that, or do you want to get through your
Yeah,
your
if we could
folks?
do our portion real quickly, that would be appreciated, Mr.
Let me get a
Chairman.
quorum,
Thank
and then
you.
we'll go back to the hearing, and we'll
Sure.
get your stuff done. Alyssa, we call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Here.
Schnelting. Here. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Here. Washington. Weber. Here.
Quorum being established, we're back in committee officially. Senator, if you want to call your first witness in favor, anybody who's testifying here in favor, go ahead and hop up. And please, for our records, if you get a chance, please fill out a witness form and just put it on the table there somewhere. Proceed when you're ready, sir.
Good morning. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Riley Nolan. I am here on behalf of the Kansas City Fire Department in support of Senate Bill 1544, renaming a portion of State Highway 9 in honor of firefighter paramedic Graham Hoffman. Graham served his community, as he is sworn to do, with professionalism, compassion, and courage. Naming this stretch of highway in his honor ensures that his service and sacrifice are permanently remembered. It stands as a visible reminder of the commitment and the risks accepted by first responders across this great state. On behalf of the men and women of the Kansas City Fire Department, we respectfully ask for your support of Senate Bill 1544 and thank the committee, as well as Senator Nurrenbern, for recognizing firefighter paramedic Hoffman and forever memorializing his service and sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Appreciate your time today. Anybody else here to testify in favor of the bill? Go ahead and hop up.
Not me, him.
Anybody else? Anybody here to testify against the bill? Anybody for informational purposes only? That'll conclude the hearing. Senator, I may request this goes consent, would you want this to go, are you going to ask for consent?
Yes, please, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, thank you.
We will work to that end too, and if you just talk to everybody on the committee, especially those that aren't here, so they know that's part of the request when we'll exec it out next week.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for your
Yep.
consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We're now going to move into a hearing on my bill, Senate Bill 1629. Senator Schnelting, would you mind managing the hearing?
You bet, Mr. Chair. Just go ahead and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Travis Fitzwater, Senate District 10, bringing Senate Bill 1629 before you. This is clarifying language on the Senate Bill 133 we passed last year. If you recall, we had an underground utility issue, old, outdated language that we had to update to make sure we're keeping our communities safe. It's the first time we got this 811 type bill done in a long time, a dig right bill. It's called by many different things, but it protected our communities, and this one particular piece, upon passing it, the intent of that legislation was to exclude the installation of detectable underground location devices on all storm sewers, regardless of the depth to which they're installed, and on any sanitary sewer mains and laterals installed at depths more than 6 feet. So this just clears up that confusion. We have a community that's misinterpreting that in particular, and so we're just trying to make sure that that's clear for these developments that are going forward. So that's the intent of it. It's pretty simple. Also would ask for consent on this if it were possible. Just clean up language. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, we'll move into public testimony for those who are here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1629. Go ahead and come on up. Anyone here to testify? Okay, great. Just go ahead and proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is John Barget. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is John Barget. I'm appearing here on behalf of the St. Louis Home Builders Association. I think the senator presented it very well. I'm happy to answer any questions. This is clearly technical. To be really specific, a comma was omitted, and it's simply being misinterpreted. It was agreed to by the senator. Worked long and hard on this bill, along with the House sponsor and other folks, AGC, 811, and everybody came to an agreement on this. It's just being misinterpreted in the community, and appreciate your help.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1629? Anyone here to testify in opposition? Anyone here for informational purposes only? Go ahead and step up, sir, and make sure you have your witness form filled out. Just proceed when you're ready, please.
Good afternoon, committee. I'm Randy Norden, Executive Director of Missouri 811. And for informational purposes, I would confirm that from what I see in this bill, it does accurately reflect the intent of what was discussed last year with Senate Bill 133.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for this witness? Thank you very much for being here. All right. Senator, would you have any closing remarks?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and turn this back over to you, Mr. Chair, so you can continue on in whichever direction you want to go with the hearings.
All right, we are going to go into executive session. Do I have a second? I'm going to make a motion. Having a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. You guys do have it. We're in executive session. I move that Senate Bill 858 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? I have a second. Those opposed, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is before the committee. The bill was presented by Senator Brattin weeks ago. It modifies provisions relating to additional protections to bear arms. This has some conversations to have going forward, but is there any discussion on the bill as it is? Seeing none, let's call the roll. I'm sorry, I move that we vote Senate Bill 858 do pass. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Aye.
Schnelting. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Washington. Weber.
By your vote of 5 to 1, you voted to pass Senate Bill 858. I now move that Senate Bill 952 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is before the committee. The bill is presented by Senator Moon. It modifies provisions relating to additional protections to bear arms. That's very similar to the one we just passed. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I move that we vote Senate Bill 952 do pass. Do I have a second? Having a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Aye.
Schnelting. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Washington. Weber.
By a vote of 5-1, you voted that bill do pass. I now move that Senate Bill 1061 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? Having a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. The bill is presented by Senator Carter, and it creates provisions relating to firearms discrimination. Discussion on that bill. Seeing none, I move that we vote Senate Bill 1061 do pass. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Aye.
Schnelting. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Washington. Weber.
By your vote of 5-1, that motion carries. I'm sorry, which one are we on? I now move that, excuse me, Senate Bill 1128 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The bill is before the committee. This bill is presented by Senator Carter. Also, it enacts provisions relating to firearm privacy. Any discussion on that bill? Seeing none, I move that we vote Senate Bill 1128 do pass. Do I have a second? Having a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Senators Fitzwater.
Aye.
Schnelting. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Washington. Weber.
5-1. By your vote of 5-1, the motion carries. I now move that Senate Bill 1605 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is before the committee. This is Senator Henderson's bill. We heard it last week. It makes 7-OH in certain amounts a Schedule I controlled substance. Any discussion on that bill?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Schroer, heard
Just
you
briefly.
first.
We've got a companion to this. Senator Nurrenbern has that in judiciary. I'm not pleased with how these products are being sold in our state. Kids have access to them. They're plaguing society, all sides of our state. While I do want to see some sort of legislative framework, I do think that this legislation as written kind of picks winners and losers. What I'd like to see, what we're trying to do in judiciary is have some sort of framework where it's out of the hands of kids. You have to be 21 years old. I've talked to the bill sponsor. I'm going to support moving this out of committee, but that's what I want to see once it hits the floor. Something that allows this to still be purchased by people in a responsible manner in medical types of settings for 21-year-olds, or myself and I think a couple others will probably have some sort of substitute or an amendment to that. So with that, I close.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Weber?
I actually didn't know he was going to say that. I agree with the senator from St. Charles. I'm going to be voting no, but I completely agree that it needs to be out of the hands of kids and out of gas stations. And I think that the framework that was discussed makes a lot of sense. I think there's a ton of room between what this bill does. And I mean, I think that there's plenty of room to find compromise. So just want to echo that.
Thank you, Senator. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I move that we vote Senate Bill 1605 do pass. Do I have a second? Having a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Senator Fitzwater.
Aye.
Schnelting. Brown. Gregory. Schroer. Washington. Weber.
By your vote of 5-1, the motion carries. I now make a motion to exit executive session. Do I have a second? Having a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are out of executive session. We will go back into the public hearing. All right, Senator Schroer, if you want to hop up, we'll start on Senate Bill 1055.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Schroer, Senate District 2, St. Charles County, presenting Senate Bill 1055. Mr. Chair, Senate Bill 1055 is a comprehensive package that modernizes Missouri's current firearm statutes while reinforcing core constitutional rights. This legislation is grounded in our state's strong tradition of individual liberty and public safety, as reflected in the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, as well as Article 1, Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution. The 5 key elements of this bill include, number 1, the bill establishes the Anti-Red Flag Gun Seizure Act, ensuring that no federal or state red flag law designed to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens without due process, and that's a key provision, without due process, may be enforced against Missouri citizens. This preserves due process rights and protections while preventing unfunded mandates that conflict with Missourians' rights. Number 2, there's a clarification of firearm tax exemptions. Senate Bill 1055 updates sales tax holiday provisions to specifically include firearm and ammunition purchases during designated periods, providing predictable economic relief for lawful firearm owners. Number 3, statutory language governing seized and forfeited property, including firearms, is modernized to align with current civil and criminal procedures, ensuring that law enforcement and courts have clear guidance. Number 4, self-defense and immunity. The bill clarifies self-defense standards and provides civil and criminal immunity for justifiable uses of threats or threats of force under Missouri law, reinforcing long-standing Missouri common law while safeguarding individuals who act in lawful self-defense of themselves or others. And number 5 is law enforcement funding. This bill also allows law enforcement to auction off firearms and ammunition that were not linked to another crime, or the firearms or ammunition are not stolen, using the revenue to help fund their operations. This legislation does not create new criminal offenses. Rather, it refines existing laws so that Missourians and law enforcement operate under coherent, constitutionally sound statutes. And with that, I will take questions from Senator Weber. Well, Senator Washington's not here.
Any questions for the bill sponsor?
I did have one, actually, and I was thinking about it. Obviously, Senator, I dislike most of your bill.
But not all.
Well, one thing I thought maybe we could find common ground on is if there's a massive sales tax hike that's coming next year, maybe we could work together to make sure any training for concealed and carry permit, which would be a service that might be taxed, would be carved out of any future sales tax increase. Is that something we could probably work together on?
Senator, we can work on a lot together. I think when it comes to the Second Amendment, making it more affordable for people to receive firearms training, I've got that in another bill. I know Senator Roberts, when we were in the House together, had a bill on allowing for tax credits for people to go get defensive training and concealed carry classes. So I'm sure we could absolutely work on something like that.
Okay. I just know there's a massive sales tax increase coming.
Is there?
Well, that's what I hear.
Has that been decided?
That's what I hear.
Okay.
So I thought maybe we can work together.
I hear a lot in this building.
Other than that, no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the bill sponsor? Senator Gregory.
It's all right.
Forgive me.
When are you thinking of the sales tax holiday? You're looking like a spring turkey season, 4th of July, the week before deer season time frame?
I'm open to expediting it, but looking at the current framework of the House members and Senate members, I don't think we could do an emergency clause on this, so it would have to be after August.
Well, I mean, in general, without an emergency clause.
It would go into effect in August.
So it'll be a sales tax holiday the whole time frame? Or
Well,
what
I
are
think
your
we
periods?
lay it out on, let me see what page we have here, on page number 5, with all of the other sales tax holidays that we have through section 144049. So when those sales tax holidays occur, it would also include all retail sales of firearms and ammunition as well. And it says on the first Friday in August, ending the midnight on the Sunday following. But again, I'm open to modifying it in a substitute. I've had several other people either wanting to tweak the language, add additional language, strengthen the language in some way. So if we have to strengthen it to ensure that it's ready for spring turkey or deer season
firearms.
next, what's that? All firearm seasons, yeah.
Fall firearm season. We'll talk offline about that. I got a few further questions.
Any other questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Is there anyone here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1055? Go ahead and come on up and just proceed when you're ready.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Aaron Dorr, on behalf of the members of the Missouri Firearms Coalition, we are certainly in support of this bill. A couple key things that we are particularly happy to see in here is the ban on red flag gun seizures on page 1 through page 3. All it says is there has to be a conviction for a violent felony crime before someone can have their guns taken away. We have a concern right now where other states are moving on legislation that allows guns to be seized before there's even been a charge filed, let alone a conviction, and this bill would put a stop to that. There also is a penalty provision to make sure we have jurisdictions that follow the law. That's on page 3, line 49. I want to be clear, it does not limit what the federal government can do. This bill does not go so far as to say the feds can or cannot enforce these in Missouri. It puts limits only on Missouri law enforcement. And finally, it does not limit Missouri cops from seizing firearms for a criminal investigation in Missouri. That's the main part of the red flag bill. On the enhancements for stand your ground law, key things there, Mr. Chairman, page 20, we grant the presumption of innocence to gun owners in this section. Right now in Missouri, we're presumed guilty if we use our firearm in a self-defense situation. This reverts that presumption and gives us the presumption of innocence, as 18 other states have already done. The key thing here is, as you heard from the bill sponsor, the force used has to be justified. It's not up to me or anybody else to decide when someone's immune from charges. If the force was justified, according to existing Missouri statute, that person would be presumed innocent and immune from criminal charges. There's also a section that establishes a pretrial immunity hearing to let gun owners assert these protections in a pretrial hearing. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Anyone else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1055? Just go ahead and proceed when you are ready.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the committee, Susan Myers of the 20th, here in support of SB 1055. And before I get into my testimony, I carry a P365 every day, so I'm thinking maybe a 365 days a year holiday would work for me. And while I support all the provisions within the bill, I want to use my time to speak to the reason red flag laws and extreme risk protection orders are so adamantly opposed by female firearms owners, including survivors of domestic violence. A truly dangerous man is not rendered harmless simply by having his known firearms removed. Men possess a size and strength advantage over women. A dangerous man intent on violence can easily use his bare hands to carry out the deed, or as recently was the case in Springfield, a hammer from the garage will suffice. But when a female has taken the responsibility for her and her children's safety by arming herself, that same dangerous man would love nothing better than to have a red flag law at his disposal to take away the one equalizer she has against him. No notice, secretive ex parte hearings resulting in a surprise visit to disarm her is the stuff of dreams for the stalkers and abusers who wish to use the state to further terrorize their victims and leave them vulnerable. Those who tout red flag laws as a safety measure aimed at helping protect women omit the fact that women are now the fastest growing demographic of new gun owners. Take the firearm away from a woman and you leave her sorely disadvantaged against a man. Take the gun first, go through due process later is the sort of fast and loose game with our rights that can get women killed. I ask you to put this roadblock in place to keep ERPOs and red flags out of Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you for being here. Anyone else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1055? Go ahead and step forward. Just make sure you have your witness form filled out, please, and then begin when you're ready, sir.
Hello, my name is Carl Smart. I'm the Vice President of Western Missouri Shooters Alliance. And this bill is a dream come true for us. And quite frankly, I've been kind of blindsided by it, didn't realize it was coming up, so I'm a little bit unprepared for it. But the many states are now moving to penalize gun owners and our Second Amendment people through sales taxes. And I am delighted to see that this bill does something to step in and save us from that nightmare. And to support what was just said about the men's strength. And I worked my way through college as a blacksmith with a very strong interest in medieval weaponry. Trust me when I say it doesn't take much to turn almost anything into a very powerful and lethal weapon, which puts women at great disadvantage. And what was that? God made men, and Smith & Wesson made them equal, and made women equal too. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone here or any questions for this witness, rather? Seeing none. Thank you very much for your testimony. Anyone else here to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1055? All right. Anyone here to testify against Senate Bill 1055? Anyone in opposition? Going once, going twice. Informational purposes? Opposition? Yes. Okay. Come on up, and just make sure you have your witness form filled out, ma'am, and then begin when you're ready.
Thank you for hearing our testimony today. Is this on? Thank you so much. My name is Kristen Bowen, and I'm here as one of many volunteer leaders with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I'm a resident of Columbia, where I've lived for 21 years, raising my 2 boys. And on behalf of Moms Demand Action, I'm here to urge the committee to oppose Senate Bill 1055 and the proposals that will further weaken our state's gun laws. This bill poses several really significant concerns. First of all, extreme risk protection or red flag laws, I have to say first, are critical life-saving tools that help keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them. Extreme risk laws empower loved ones or law enforcement to intervene and temporarily prevent someone in crisis from accessing firearms. These laws, sometimes referred to as red flag laws, help de-escalate emergency situations. They are a proven way to intervene before an incident of gun violence, such as firearm suicide or mass shootings, take more lives. Senate Bill 1055 would also bar Missouri from adopting such a policy. While we heard about some other states' gun laws, I just want to mention 22 states, from Indiana to Florida to Colorado, have adopted extreme risk protection order laws. For example, in Indiana, in the 10 years since they adopted their law, they have seen a reduction in their firearm suicide rate of 7.5%. I'm also testifying today on Senate Bill 1055 because it expands Missouri's Stand Your Ground law. We know for certain that under current Missouri law, that law-abiding Missourians have the right to self-defense, including using deadly force. But Stand Your Ground laws, like the one in our current statute, encourage armed vigilantism by allowing a person to shoot and kill another person in public, even when they can walk away safely. This bill goes a step further by making it more likely that shooters avoid justice while chilling due process for victims and the families of victims. Under our current law, when a person uses force to protect themselves or another person, they have the burden of introducing that defense. But under this bill, the force used against another person would be presumed to be reasonable and justified, meaning that the person who used such force would no longer be required to raise the defense. These critical changes provide shooters with automatic criminal and civil immunity, denying grieving families justice. The bill would prevent law enforcement from having the ability to arrest, detain, or even charge a suspect ahead of an investigation. It makes defendants entitled to a pretrial immunity hearing in civil and criminal cases, requiring the prosecution or the plaintiff to prove by clear and convincing evidence that the person wasn't acting in self-defense. look, self-defense laws already give us the right to protect ourselves and our families, and that includes using deadly force if necessary. Granting immunity from criminal prosecution and civil lawsuits unless the state disproves self-defense by clear and convincing evidence just makes it harder to hold people accountable when they should shoot first, when they want to shoot first and ask questions later. So I encourage the members of the committee to please vote no on this dangerous and unnecessary bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1055? We go ahead and just make sure we have our witness form filled out, ma'am. Just go ahead and proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Marilyn McLeod. I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of Missouri. The League of Women Voters, of course, our primary focus is on voting and election law, but we also are very interested in public policy issues, and one of them is firearms safety. In essence, the League supports regulating firearms for consumer safety. I'm a little confused by some of the previous testimony that implied that women would not be able to have guns under the red flag law. I couldn't quite understand that. I would think this would protect women, particularly if they have a partner who might be dangerous. So that confused me, because I think that this would save people. And it is intended to be temporary. Red flag laws are temporary, just to try to remove weapons from the hands of people who might be dangerous. I would like to also comment, if I may, on the tax exemption. And if there needs to be a tax exemption for gun or ammunition, perhaps best on the weekends or the time periods when there's hunting, etc. But on the weekend where people are buying materials for their kids who are going to school, and to have a tax exemption for purchases of guns and ammunition on that same time period seems, I don't know what word to use other than egregious. It's just is the wrong place. I'd say maybe better to put tax exemption on music instruments or books or something on the weekend that people are buying materials for their children for school. So at this point, I would like to just say the League of Women Voters urges the committee to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anyone else here to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1055? Anyone else for opposition? All right, anyone for informational purposes only? All right, that'll conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 1055. I'm going to turn this over to Senator Schroer, and I will go ahead and present.
By show of hands, who all is in favor or is going to testify in favor of Senate Bill 1078? And show of hands, who is going to testify against? All right, so what we're going to do is alternate those in favor and those against after Senator Schnelting wraps up his introduction. Senator, begin with the public hearing on Senate Bill 1078.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 1078 would allow for those who've undergone weapons training and who have a valid CCW to carry while aboard our public transportation systems. At some point in all of our lives, we all encounter situations where we have to defend ourselves or our families. It doesn't matter if we're Democrat, Republican, white or black, Christian or non, religious or non. We all encounter these situations. American citizens have a natural right to self-defense, yet in Missouri, we, in a way, we actually strip it from them the moment they enter to a bus terminal or a tram, and that shouldn't be. We pay for we pay tax dollars for some of these transportation systems, and some of these systems are dangerous, and they do carry reputations for violent crime like rapes, murder, and assault in some cases. Now, my opposition may claim we don't need more guns on public transit. What they really mean is they don't want legal guns on public transit because the reality is that there are already guns on our public transportation systems. It's just carried by those who are breaking the law. It's the average Missourian who kind of gets the raw end of the deal, as they're told they can't protect themselves. So that's a single mom who, at the end of her shift at night, has to rely on public transit to get home, who is kind of put in a vulnerable position, or the elderly woman who has to utilize it to get to her doctor's appointment, or the elderly gentleman who is using the system to get back from work at night. So our laws currently negatively affect them. But by allowing CCW holders to carry while they're on public transportation, I believe this won't just aid. It'll aid in those situations, but it also will aid in deterring crime, Mr. Chair, because most criminals understand that they're going to be met with resistance in certain areas over others. Criminals don't typically look for spaces where lawful firearm carrying is allowed. They go for schools, they go for churches, they go for theaters, they go for public transit, they go for systems where they know they're going to not encounter such resistance. Roughly 40 states allow for the carrying of concealed weapons by those who've undergone this training on our public transit systems, including some very blue states. So it's not really a partisan issue. Even some New England states gets it right on this. This legislation has passed the House many times, and I think it's time for Missouri for us to get it done and push it across the finish line, Mr. Chair. Anyway, I'll open up for any questions.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none. First witness in support of Senate Bill 1078, please come forward. Make sure you have your witness form filled out and begin when ready.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the committee, Susan Myers of the 20th, here in support of SB 1078. Following the unprovoked stabbing of a pregnant couple on a St. Louis Metro bus on October 27, 2025, I decided to sit down and pen an op-ed on the issue of Missouri's public transit carry ban and how it unfairly targets and infringes upon an entire class of people, those who rely on transit. These citizens are often of lower income, causing them to live in more dangerous neighborhoods, making their need and desire to exercise their right to carry for self-protection all the more pressing. In the rebuttal letters that followed, a prevalent theme ran consistently throughout all of them. We mustn't escalate the violence. Self-defense is portrayed as a selfish act that receives more pushback than the initial criminal act. Concealed carriers who act in self-defense have been managing quite successfully to do so without injuring others, proven by the fact that were it not the case, we'd be hearing about it constantly in the media. The truth is, over 81.9% of all defensive gun incidents play out with no shots fired. No one has the right to expect a fellow human to be okay with not being allowed to protect themselves with force if that's what it takes. And for the state to be the one mandating victimhood for the safety of the other passengers is outside the bounds of decency. That we should all be sweet little Irenas. Remain quiet. Don't make a fuss or try to involve others. Take your fate graciously and mind the aisle. May she and the others who have senselessly lost their lives on transit rest in peace. I thank the bill's sponsor for his continued efforts to remove this infringement that is so incredibly at odds with the strong pro-2A persona that many senators often like to tout in their campaign ads or when visiting with constituents. Something's off. Repeatedly, somewhere in the process, shortly after this bill gets voted do pass in this committee, movement halts. Why is that? After a decade, it's time someone in Senate leadership, if unwilling to expend the political capital to get this done, should at the very least provide an explanation as to why urban, lower-income Missourians who rely on transit deserve fewer Second Amendment rights than the rest of us. Thank you.
Briefly, I know, Senator Schnelting, you've had this bill for a couple of years. Either one of you are free to answer this. I know one of the new pieces is something involving the Attorney General's power. Can Either
Yeah.
one of you, okay, can you
Yes.
explain?
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. Yep, I forgot to mention that in my opening statement. We also added a piece to this which has not passed the House. We have not, this would be, I believe, the first or second year we've added it to this, allowing the Attorney General and her staff to carry. So if they're presenting court cases, often prosecutors can do that. We have the law enforcement, the judges, but our own AG and her staff cannot do that, and this would open this up for their protection.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Now moving back to those against. And I've been reminded that we are on a pretty strict time limit. I think, what is it, 3:30 or 3:45 we have to be out of here? Okay, by 3:45. So let's not drag on any testimony that's been said before. Just, me to it. I know in judiciary we have some strict time limits. I'm going to loosely say about 5 minutes for each witness testifying. But with that, you can testify against Senate Bill 1078.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mike Winter, representing the Missouri Public Transit Association, and I'll try to give you back some of your time, Senator, and keep this brief. We've been here in front of this committee for a number of years testifying in opposition to legislation similar to this, so we want to be on record opposing Senate Bill 1078 as well. We don't see providing concealed carry permit holders the opportunity to bring weapons on our transportation, whether it be a bus or a train, a great enhancement in safety. If anything, we see it going the other direction. Keep in mind, these are closed environments, either a bus or a train, with limited access and ability to get out if someone were to bring a weapon onto one of our modes of transportation and decide to use it. I think the industry as a whole, and we represent both large and small transit users, have taken great steps in recent years to try to enhance the safety of their operations with real-time cameras. And I think the witness who testified in support, the news reports of what happened in the Metro situation where the stabbing, if it hadn't been for those real-time cameras, the person who did that stabbing wouldn't have been apprehended as quickly as they were. So there are a variety of reasons why we oppose the legislation, but I'll leave it there, Mr. Chairman, and open myself up for any questions.
Any questions? Senator Gregory.
I do appreciate the concern and everything you have there, but I think the statement that you just said of limited space to get off in case someone brings a firearm on is why I am generally in favor of CCW holders being able to carry per se in public. I understand the concerns, but these are people that have gone through the training to defend themselves. And I know there's a lot of pushback against it. This is probably one of the top 3 or 4 emails I've gotten since it's in our committee lately. But I mean, John, with all due respect, the reason you gave right there, I think, is a reason why this bill's been presented so many times.
Well, my response, Senator, would be I think it's a whole lot different than shooting a silhouette at 7 steps than it is trying to defend yourself in a high-risk situation with a lot of emotion. It's one thing to be trained in law enforcement or the military to be able to handle weapons, but merely having a concealed carry permit with no additional requirements for ongoing training doesn't give me a whole lot of comfort.
Yeah, appreciate those thoughts. Thank you.
Any further questions? I'll just say briefly, more of a statement, not a question. We deal with this bill almost every year that I've been here. I want to thank the sponsor for changing it and modifying it as the years go on, but we continue to see these crimes happening on public transit. And even though that there are laws against murder, against stabbings, against all sorts of violence, they continue happening, and most recently in North Carolina. And that incident really hit home because we were on that public transit just 8 months before that, my wife and girls, and seeing these helpless individuals having no recourse. And we all know that the Second Amendment is the greatest equalizer. And like Senator Gregory said, having people who go through training that know how to use it, yes, it is different shooting silhouettes than addressing a violent situation. That's why you got to go through that training. That's why we continue to push people to do more training, not just the simple CCW. But maybe I will spin this into a question. The cameras aren't stopping anything. The police that may or may not be at the stations when you drop them off haven't really stopped anything. So What would be the alternative? Is there anything that you guys have proposed, and maybe I'll ask this to several people, that can allow these individuals who have their families with them to protect themselves if something like that, like we saw in North Carolina, a crazed perpetrator that should have been behind bars, if the prosecutors would have done their job? What other options are there for people to protect themselves?
Senator, that's a great question, but I can't give you an answer today. I'm more than happy to talk to some of my members and see if we can't provide you some additional thoughts on that.
Okay. And no questions, then we'll now move to informational purposes. Any for informational purposes? Please come forward. Oh, in support? Yes. Okay, any for informational purposes? Let me see first. Seeing none, next in support, please come forward.
I'm so glad that you escaped the I-70 highway of death.
It was bad today, I guess.
Begin when ready.
Say again?
Begin when ready.
Oh, my name is Carl Smart, and I am the Vice President of Western Missouri Shooters Alliance. We strongly support the bill and have so for several years. And over the years, I've seen the opposition arguments, and they generally run into guns are bad, guns are dangerous, not enough training, there will be collateral damage, there will be blood in the aisles, and basically it's the old shootout in the OK Corral argument, which incidentally didn't happen at the OK Corral. We focus on crime punishment, but what we want is crime prevention. Criminals are like predators. They want an easy prey with little chance of injury. I have cats, so trust me, I know predators. We focus on shooting, but the real benefit of the concealed carry is placing an element of doubt in the minds of the criminals. Is their intended victim an easy sheep, or is it a hidden ram? Is that little bulge in grandma's purse her knitting, or is it a 9? And it is that bit of questioning that is a deterrent. It has been claimed that if people know there are guns on the buses, they will not ride it. Well, it's time to wake up and smell the roses. There are guns on the buses now, and they're not in the hands of people that we want to have them. This bill would allow people with a concealed carry permit to carry on public transportation, and this has proved to be one of the most law-abiding groups in our nation. Now, as a little aside, there's a couple of similar bills that are working away, or court cases, up almost to the Supreme Court level. So this is a national issue that's about to be decided at the highest judicial levels. But please, approve this bill and support it so with luck, leadership will allow it to come to a vote after all these years. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Smart? Seeing none. Before we move back to against, I got a message from our good friend, Arnie Dienoff, who says that he would be here to testify, but unfortunately he's testifying somewhere else. So thank you, Arnie, for always listening. Any more testimony in opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Michael Grote, I'm a registered lobbyist appearing on behalf of City Utilities of Springfield. City Utilities still operates the bus system in Springfield, Missouri, primarily as a holdover from the old electric cars. There's four points I think to bring up. One, you've heard already in that buses are small, confined environments. So when a shooting does take place, it's very possible for an innocent bystander to be hit, to be targeted in those situations. Additionally, transit workers are not trained or equipped to deal with gun de-escalation. Gun response is not what they're trained to do. Lastly, it complicates law enforcement. When they arrive, they don't know who is the good guy and who is the bad guy in this situation when there is a shooting incident that's taking place on a very small, confined space, as well as it does increase insurance and liability costs for those of us that operate those systems. So while we don't want to do anything to infringe upon people's Second Amendment rights, at the same time, we're not sure that small enclosed spaces of public transit are the right places for those guns. So happy to answer any questions.
A brief statement or maybe question. and I usually don't ask this many questions, but did you state that the workers on the tram are not equipped to deal with these
I'm
types
saying
of
that-
gun de-escalation?
That's not what they're trained to do.
Wouldn't you agree that by getting a CCW, that's part of the training that they receive? Individuals utilizing their weapon or deterring crime?
So a couple things. One, as I think you heard comments before, I've not gone through CCW training. My understanding is that you are required to be able to effectively hit a target at a short distance. I have another friend of mine who annually goes and does live fire drills, that does shoot, don't shoot scenarios. That gentleman, you know what? If he wants to pull his gun in public, I trust him 100%. I don't think the average person is receiving that training. Additionally, maybe there's other people in the room, but I was someone who was in this situation. I was riding on public transit in Chicago. My wife and I were held up because she was using her phone. Individual wanted to take her phone from her, said he had a gun, was fresh out of prison. Those of you that know my wife, she simply said, "No, I don't believe you," and she sat there and kind of went on. If you know Heather, you can believe that that's what she would do. I couldn't get in between where I was standing. There was no way for me to physically get in between her and the gentleman, even if I had
Do you
a
think
firearm.
if your wife
Even if
or
I had a
somebody like
firearm.
that, no, if your wife
No.
would have had a firearm and said, okay, well,
because
here's
where-
the greatest equalizer.
Because where it was, there was no way for her to get to it in that scenario. He was standing above her, in theory, pointing a gun through his pocket at her immediately. Any flinch she would have made would have prevented that situation. So a firearm, best case scenario, would have gotten her shot, would have gotten someone else shot that was sitting next to her.
Or arguably, it could have deterred that guy from going onto the bus that day and trying to pick a fight.
Maybe, but arguably it would have ended in mass violence in that scenario.
Any further questions? Senator, please proceed.
Bobby Schroer, you mentioned that the insurance rates might go up on this. So maybe this is more of a comment, but no offense to our insurance friends in the crowd today. But one thing I think we know about insurance companies is it's like straight up dollars and cents. Like there's they're not making a social judgment on this, but if they're looking at this and determining that it's likely to lead to higher payouts, that means really a completely objective, uninvolved third party who has money on the line is looking at this and saying we are more likely to have to pay claims if this passes than if it doesn't. And so I think that's a fairly, for those of us that are making value judgments, but you can look at sort of somebody has no political stake in this and says that they think it makes more dangerous. I think that's actually a fairly telling sign in this situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as those costs increase, I think it would make it much harder for the individuals who use those resources to use them as well, because those costs are going to go up. And the majority of people that are using our system, I can't speak to other systems in the state. We had roughly 1.7 million riders this last year, and those individuals were predominantly low-income individuals using it to either get to a place of employment or a health appointment of some sort. So,
Further questions? Seeing none. Last call for informational purposes only. Seeing none. Testifying in favor, I believe. Make sure you have a witness form and proceed when ready.
Good afternoon, committee. My name is Kelvin Curtis. I serve as the State Director for the National Rifle Association of America. On behalf of the National Rifle Association and the law-abiding firearm owners here in Missouri, I am here to provide strong testimony in support of Senate Bill 1078. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right that diminishes the moment a citizen board a bus or a train. Presently, numerous Missourians, especially low-income individuals that depends on public transit as their sole mode of transportation, are compelled to operate within a gun-free zone, thereby exposing them to increased risks of crime during daily commutes. And this legislation guarantees that these law-abiding citizens are neither prohibited or obstructed nor objected to harassment from exercising their right to self-defense while utilizing public transit, funded transit. More importantly, Senate Bill 1078 eliminates the risk of a felony charge for those permit holders who are merely required to access employment or the grocery store, and it establishes a clear exemption from individuals with valid concealed carry permits, ensuring that they are no longer subjected to the offense of possession or concealment for a dangerous or deadly weapon on a bus. As an individual within financial circumstances or methods of travel should not influence their capacity to safeguard themselves. By enacting Senate Bill 1078, this committee can ensure that all residents of Missouri, irrespective of their income level, are able to exercise their constitutional right to bear arms and firearms in a safe and lawful manner. We respectfully request that this committee please vote a due pass for Senate Bill 1078.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Now moving back to those in opposition of Senate Bill 1078. You have 10 seconds.
I'll be very quick. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Fred Dreiling today representing the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority. We'd like to go on the record respectfully in opposition to the bills we have in years past. As was mentioned before, we understand that gun-free zones are a target for the bad criminals, but this gun-free zone happens to be traveling down Main Street at 40 miles an hour and creates its own unique set of circumstances. And another thing I'd like to bring up is we react to what our customers, what our riders want at the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority, and there is no groundswell to be able to carry a concealed carry weapon on the bus system right now. So respectfully, we would like to go on record in opposition.
I do want to thank you for admitting that gun-free zones are targets for criminal activity. But with that, I'll open it up to any other questions. Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony today. Moving back to those in support of Senate Bill 1078.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Aaron Dorr, on behalf of Missouri Firearms Coalition, we are in support of this bill and any bill that reduces gun-free zones in the state of Missouri. I had a sheet here. I'll have to do it later, Mr. Chairman. We heard the same arguments against this as we did when we passed constitutional carry in 2016. We heard about chaos. We heard about blood in the streets. None of that happened. It's not going to happen this time either. And for those organizations who don't want to have this happen, that's totally fine if they fund their own buses, if they fund their own transportation systems. These are taxpayer funded, and they should be on limits to gun owners. Thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none. Now moving to those in opposition of Senate Bill 1078.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Foster. I'm a resident of Columbia, Missouri. I also serve on the city council there representing the 4th Ward. And so as a fellow elected, I want to offer my sincere gratitude to you all for your public service. I am here in opposition to this bill. Public transit is a significant issue in Columbia. It's one that I strongly support and look for every opportunity to find a way to have more people on the buses and to give them the kind of transit that they need and deserve. That can be challenging sometimes in the light of reduction of funding that we get from the state. So I would encourage, while I can, your attention to that matter. But in this case, we do have concerns for the people who are riding our buses and for our bus drivers, as has been described already. One of the things that we've done to do that is to introduce and to pilot a navigation liaison program onto our buses, putting people on the buses whose responsibility is to intervene and to provide support for those who are traveling on our buses and to support our bus drivers who are really just there to drive and not to provide any kind of intervention in case of disturbances on the bus. So there are ways to do. Someone has mentioned cameras. If you speak to the people who sell those cameras, such as Flock, they'll tell you that cameras are a deterrence to crime and that when people believe they're being observed, they're less likely to misbehave. That could be true on buses as well as any other location. So just with that in mind, I want to encourage you, as you've heard from these others who are in opposition, to be in opposition to this bill. Thank you very much. I'll be open to any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none. Now moving back to those in support of Senate Bill 1078.
Good afternoon. My name is Sean McElprang. I'm Deputy Attorney General over the Criminal Division at the Missouri Attorney General's Office, and I'm here to offer testimony in support of that part of the bill dealing with the agents of the Attorney General. In Section 571030, subsection 2, subdivision 10, It makes a provision for prosecutors, for instance, and circuit attorney and assistant prosecutors, assistant circuit attorneys to be able to go into places, particularly court, and to carry weapons in those situations for public protection, public safety, and for their own personal safety as they carry out their law enforcement duties in this state. And this part of the bill would add the Attorney General and the Attorney General's staff and allow the Attorney General and her staff to enjoy the same protections that other law enforcement agents and officers in this state have as they carry out their official duties. And you know, this is important for us so as to enable our people to carry out their duties without fear. We work on a lot of cases, high-profile cases involving murder, serious assaults, sexual assaults, and emotions can run very high, not only for defendants, but for friends of defendants, family members, and those who may perceive that the state is treating them unfairly. There have been situations in the past where the agents of the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General, who are just trying to carry out their duties have suffered under threats and have had to put themselves in danger and in fear of violence just carrying out their duties. So this addition to Section 571030 provides essential protections to our people, which are no different from the protections that are already afforded to our prosecutors throughout the state. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to hear those.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony today. We're going to move back to those in opposition to Senate Bill 1078. Those in opposition? Proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing the City of Kansas City as well as the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, and just want to go on record in opposition to this as we have for the past 10 to 15 years, I believe. I think everybody here has heard my testimony, but I always like to end with saying, you know, the folks in Kansas City, if they want this right, they're feel free to reach out to their elected officials. And I said it every year, and I don't think we've had a movement whatsoever to change our, you know, folks coming forward, our city council members asking for this. So we'll continue to oppose it. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none.
Thank
Moving
you, Mr.
back to
Chairman.
those in support of Senate Bill 1078.
Lisa Panett with Armorvine, and we just want to be really quick and just say that we support everything in the bill and we appreciate the sponsor for bringing it.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. We're going to move back to those in opposition to Senate Bill 1078.
Good afternoon again. My name's Kristen Bowen. I am here on behalf of the Missouri chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Again, I'm from Columbia, like my city council member who is here with us today to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 1078, a bill which would force guns onto public transportation. Missouri law currently prohibits people from carrying dangerous weapons onto a bus or into a bus terminal. This bill would force public transit systems to allow people with CCW permits to carry hidden loaded firearms. Rather than taking steps to address the gun violence crisis that we're facing in our state, this measure would simply weaken our gun laws and undermine public safety. Speaking for an organization that has testified many times against this measure and rigorously advocates only for safety measures that are supported by data and evidence, I just want to say up front, there is no evidence to support the notion that flooding sensitive spaces like buses and trains will reduce gun violence. We see no reason to infuse guns into more places like trains and buses. It will just put more people at risk in those spaces, allowing anyone to carry a loaded handgun. We have the right to be safe from firearms when we're just trying to get to and from work or school, and we shouldn't have to fear that an armed rider could endanger the safety of everyone on the bus or train. I'm testifying on this bill in particular, though, because before I moved here to Missouri, my husband and I relocated here 21 years ago, but before that, for 20 years, I commuted every day on a subway or a bus. And so I know firsthand, like the other witness, how crowded and tense those shared spaces can be. Also, as a mother, I have one boy in college and one boy who's living in a major city where they ride public transit to and from their work and their school every single day. So speaking as a former commuter and as a mom, I know we all should have the right to be safe from firearms when we're just trying to get to and from school or work without the fear that an untrained armed rider could endanger the safety of everyone on the bus or the train. So instead of undermining the safety of our citizens, I think I hear that the sponsor of this bill wants to save lives. I do too, but I know that this bill would have the opposite effect. Gun violence is preventable. Our lawmakers should stand up for communities across Missouri and commit themselves to advocating for policies that would truly address the gun violence crisis in our state. We've heard testimony today mocking the idea that gun violence increased after we've passed certain measures that weaken our public policy. It's just not accurate. So I'm attaching to my testimony today some data about the actual rise in gun violence in our state that happened after we enacted permitless carry. I want to encourage members of the committee to vote no on Senate Bill 1078, and thank you for prioritizing safety.
Any questions? Seeing none. Going to move back to those in support of Senate Bill 1078. Last call. Seeing none. Now moving again to those in opposition to Senate Bill 1078.
Does this work? Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Marilyn McLeod, and I'm representing the League of Women Voters of Missouri, as I mentioned earlier. Very briefly, the League supports regulating firearms for consumer safety, envisioning the closed bus or train where there would be, I hate to say, repeat some previous testimony, gunfight at OK Corral. I mean, the reality is if somebody, if multiple people have weapons and something happens, and in a closed space, there are children, there's people with disabilities, there's senior citizens, people can't get out of the way. Adding extra guns to a closed space just does not seem a safe solution for our communities. So the League is in opposition to Senate Bill 1078.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Going to move back last call for those in favor of Senate Bill 1078. Seeing none. Those in opposition to Senate Bill 1078. Seeing none. Any last call for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, you have any closing remarks?
I do not, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
That will conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 1078. And having no further business before the committee, I now move that we adjourn. Do I have a second? Having a second, we're adjourned.